I said.
You just assaulted me.
Good.
You're hurt. Loosen the well, you're...
Is your WCS on your person during this incident?
I did have it on.
Okay, and how come you didn't activate it?
I was told not to.
Okay, by who?
The captain.
It's quite rare to see cops going against each other, but in today's video, we'll deeply analyze one of the biggest police corruption cases you'll ever see. From the tyrant captain who arrested and illegally stole items from innocent victims to his officers later snitching on him, you'll be shocked to see how this dramatic case unfolds.
Did you turn it on?
No, I didn't.
And why is that?
We were told initially from the captain not to turn them on.
Did you order any officers who were working this detail to not activate the WCS?
No.
You never ordered anyone to do that?
No.
On August 15th, 2019, brothers Joe and John were at the Ascension Day Festival playing their guitars on the side of the road. Shortly after, a couple of officers approached them, ordering them to pack up their stuff and get away. The brothers calmly obliged and were on their way back when they crossed paths with Captain James Zuba, who, along with other cops, proceeded to arrest them.
Okay, he's not touching it. You guys are.
You wanna let go of your...
We're not touching it.
That's too tight.
Okay, let me undo it.
That's too tight.
Relax.
Let go.
That's too tight.
Let me undo it. Relax.
Hey, why are you guys touching?
Why are you touching us?
This is illegal.
Leave us alone.
We didn't...
Touching us.
Calm down so they don't say that you're doing anything. Just calm down. You know that...
What are you doing?
You think a lot of you yell something's gonna change?
Why are you doing this?
You have the right.
Why are you doing this? Protecting me, you're hurting me.
What?
I said.
You just assaulted me.
Good.
You're hurting me.
Step back. Step back.
Yeah, you got that too tight. It's too tight.
What are you doing?
Loosen it.
Let go of some of this shit.
Let go of that
Loosen
stuff.
it.
Let go of some of this stuff.
Loosen the cuffs. Loosen the cuffs.
They will.
Yeah.
Loosen the cuffs.
Shut up.
Loosen the cuffs. Loosen the cuffs.
Another shocking thing about this arrest was that every officer had their body cams turned off moments before making the arrest. The reason will be discussed later in this video, leaving you stunned. This footage was from Officer Tomorrow's body cam, who was the only cop with his body cam on.
You're...
Loosen it. There's nothing wrong. I got some computers in there. Loosen the cuffs. Loosen the cuffs. Stop. What are you doing? Ow. What are you doing?
I should be eating French fries over there. Instead, I gotta touch his filthy, nasty guitar. Just cooperate. Let it go.
Dude, that's my phone.
Let it go. We'll put it in your bag. Which bag is this?
As you can see, one of the officers confiscated the guitarist's phone and handed it over to Captain Zayuba. This phone is significant in the case as it recorded the captain's interaction with them.
I guess it goes in the property. Hold on. I'm done with my contact.
Moments later, the captain appeared to come over and say something to Officer Tomero. And just then, he also turned off his body cam. Both John and Joe were taken to the police station, where they were charged with disorderly conduct and released 6 hours later. Later, they appeared in court to fight their charge. And even the judge sided with the musician.
So you're playing the guitar on Mayfield and they said you can't do that?
He was playing his guitar outside. They were arrested.
For playing this guitar? Were you intoxicated?
No.
So you just playing the guitar? And the police just came up to you and just arrested you? Took your cell phone and did all that because you were playing the guitar? Okay, something not right about that.
Just like that, the judge dismissed the charge against them. However, a big piece was still missing in the case. The brothers had never gotten their phone back, and when they asked about it, the cops said that no phone was retrieved during the arrest. As the body cam footage clearly shows, Captain Zuba did get hold of it. Shortly after, an investigation was launched into this case, and detectives went to the guitarist's residence to inquire about what had happened earlier.
Folder number 4, like 80% sure that's him. Sorry.
You can just sign it and write what percentage you believe that's and who do you think that is?
Captain Zuba.
Okay.
This is clearly Bush.
Okay, what percentage are you sure?
100%.
Okay. From here, we gather any facts we can. We're gonna go to Little Italy to see if there's any surveillance footage there.
Okay.
Stuff like that, and we present the facts to a prosecutor, and the prosecutor will determine if the officers committed a crime or not.
This here is one of the bike I had that they returned that and the guitars, no problem.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, aside from your cell phone, they gave you everything else back. Just your cell phone was not in your bag or nothing like that.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be accusatory, but it was kind of wrong what happened, man. And I think they might have destroyed the cell phone because of the evidence of him assaulting me on it.
The detectives soon realized that there was much more to this case, so they immediately contacted the officers present on the scene and interrogated them, starting with Officer Tomero.
Okay, on August 15th, 2019, were you employed by the city of Cleveland while working the Feast of the Assumption?
Yes.
Okay. And what was your role there?
I work in the community service unit, and we were detailed to the feast.
Okay. Did you have an encounter with two males named Joseph and Jonathan Workman?
If that's the males on the video, I didn't get their names.
Yeah, two guys with the guitars?
Yes.
Okay. Did you witness Captain DeZuba, or let me start with this, did you witness either of the two guys trying to record Captain DeZuba on their cell phone?
I don't know if they were trying to record them. They had cell phones.
Okay. Did you see Captain DeZuba try to take the cell phone out of one of the guy's hands?
I think during the arrest, I took one of the cell phones out of the person's hand.
Okay, but you didn't witness Captain DeZuba ever? Because the complaint is that Captain DeZuba grabbed the guy's hand when he was trying to film him and twisted his arm.
No.
You didn't witness anything like that?
No.
Okay. Did you witness Captain DeZuba use any sort of reportable force on either of these two guys?
No.
Tomero refuted everything that was asked against the captain. It was obvious that he had prepared for this line of questioning and was not going against his sergeant.
Did you hear Captain DeZuba ever give an order for people not to have their cameras on
No.
while this incident was going on?
No.
Okay, what about for the feast in general? Did he ever make a, we don't have to have our cameras on? He never said anything like that?
No.
Okay. Do you know if the officers that were working overtime details were given the option to drive their personal cars to the feast?
I don't know.
Okay.
Tomero also claimed that the captain never asked any of the officers to turn off their body cams, but he had no clue that this lie would be exposed pretty soon.
Not Carey, badge number 2400.
Officer Carey, prior to beginning the interview, you had a chance to review the order to submit to an administrative interview form. Did you understand the form?
Yes, sir.
Any questions about the form?
No, sir. I tried to do crowd control, mainly
Okay.
as with two other officers as we approached. So I didn't get to see the initial encounter.
Okay. Did you witness Captain DeZuba use any force on either of the males?
No, sir.
Did you witness Captain DeZuba take either of their cell phones away?
They did arrest them. Yeah, I saw the arresting part, but there was no force. I don't.
Okay. They were just handcuffed?
Yes.
Do you know why they were arrested? Or did you know why at the time, why they were being arrested?
Disorderly.
Okay. Did you witness that, or did you just...
No, that, like I said, we came upon that probably in the middle of the incident.
Okay.
Officer Carey was one of the officers who didn't turn his body cam on throughout the incident, and when questioned about it, he didn't hesitate to throw his captain under the bus.
I'm just going to ask you this because I asked everybody else. This is a picture of the 3rd District property book. I highlighted the line there. Is that your handwriting, or did you write that in the book?
I didn't handle any of it.
Okay.
And no, that's not my handwriting.
Okay. When you put something in the property book, do you make a tag in LERMS for it? Put an entry in LERMS and print out a tag?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was your WCS on your person during this incident?
I did have it on.
Okay, and how come you didn't activate it?
I was told not to.
By who?
The captain.
Okay, and when did he tell you that?
The beginning, before we got dropped off.
Okay, so when you got dropped off to work the feast,
Yeah.
he said you don't need to turn your
we-
cameras on?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and that, did you interpret that as no matter what happened, you shouldn't turn your camera on?
I was interpreted, yeah. I mean, hey, don't turn the cameras on.
Okay.
And we didn't.
All right.
We're good.
Is there anything you want to add before we conclude?
No, sir.
The detectives had enough proof against the corrupt captain, but things were about to worsen for the tyrant.
So you didn't witness any interaction with these guys and Captain DeZuba?
No, when we initially were walking down the hill, they called for the captain and somebody else saying these kids want to talk to him. And we were walking on the hill, and then we heard them call the radio, hey, we need more officers over here, and that's when we came up. And by the time we came up, they were cuffed, and there's bikes and that, so we just moved out of the way because people kept tripping over them.
Okay. Now, did you walk to the prisoner van with the...
Yes, we were. I was actually, I believe I was one of the front officers kind of clearing the path because, it gets busy over there, so we're
Yeah.
just trying to make sure no one got in the way.
Okay. Did you witness any officers with either of these guys' cell phones?
No, I've never. The only time I saw their cell phone was when they were first initially playing, and the kid was, I think he was recording when the first officers were just talking. That was the only time I've ever seen
Okay,
that.
so when the initial officers were talking to them, he was recording them
When they first
from what
made
you could
initial
tell?
contact.
Okay. Did you witness what happened to any of the guys' property? Their guitars, their bikes, anything like that?
No, the only thing I saw, I think one of the officers had their bikes, and he walked it down because he was next to me, and then he set it against the van because they're like, "Where do you want your bikes?" And they said, "Just put them against the van." So that's what he set it against the van, and once they got to the van, we just walked away because I think like everybody was there for the most part.
Like the previous cop, Officer Dorner claimed he was not involved in the arrest. It's abysmal how none of the officers were ready to take responsibility for this arrest. However, Dorner also claimed that the captain instructed them to turn off their body cam.
Okay. Did you have your WCS on you at the time?
Did I have it on me or turned on?
On you.
On me, yes, I had
Okay.
it on me.
Did you turn it on?
No, I did not.
And why is that?
We were told initially from the captain not to turn them on, and then I was thinking we were off duty, so we didn't think we had to have them on.
Okay. And what made you think you were off duty?
I mean, we were just told it was kind of not a secondary employment, but we weren't actually working, like not working for the district, but we were working kind of, we all filled out overtime cards, so.
It was a detail.
It was a detail, I guess you could say.
Okay. But Captain DeZuba, was it while this incident was going on with these guys?
No, I believe when we first got off, it's hard to remember, but I believe when we first got off the bus and we all kind of like conjugated and we were talking about who's working where, he said, you don't need to turn your cameras on because it's like, he said a detail.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay. Do you remember anything else about this incident that I didn't ask about?
No.
Okay. I'm just going to ask you because I asked everyone else. This highlighted line there, is that your handwriting?
No.
Okay. Do you know whose handwriting that is?
No.
Okay.
No.
If you would have put this in the book, would you have put an entry in Lerms and printed out a tag for the property?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
The officers were clearly turning against Captain DeZuba in order to save themselves. Next up was Officer Musina, who was much more involved in the arrest, and even he blamed the captain.
They were playing their guitars and had a confrontation with Captain DeZuba. Do you remember witnessing any of that?
Bits and pieces, not much.
Okay. Did you witness when the officers initially approached the guys when they were playing on the...
No, sir.
Okay. Did you witness any other interaction with Captain DeZuba?
Minimal.
Okay.
Very minimal.
Did you see either of these two guys trying to record Captain DeZuba with their cell phone?
Record Captain Zubin? No.
Okay.
I saw them recording the officers as they were walking away from us because we were at the top of the hill.
Okay.
We were walking down and they were walking away from us. So they were recording and then everybody kind of became a crowd.
Okay. Did you witness Captain DeZuba use any sort of reportable force?
No, sir.
Okay. The guy complained that Captain DeZuba grabbed his hand, he was recording it and twisted his arm. Did you witness anything like that?
I did not.
Okay. Were you present when the males were being handcuffed?
Yes, but I was way behind the officers, so I didn't see anybody. I didn't see who did handcuffing or where they were handcuffed at.
Surprisingly, none of the officers testified that force was used, and the captain indeed took their phones away. These cops were not being honest, but were only trying to save their jobs.
Did you witness any of the officers with either of the male cell phones?
Negative.
Okay. And did you walk back to the prisoner van?
I did.
Okay. Did you witness whether or not these guys identified themselves?
I did not witness that, no.
Okay. Were you present when they were issued minor misdemeanor citations?
I was not.
Okay.
I only created a path to the van with
Okay.
the guys.
Did you have a WCS camera on that day?
I did have it with me, yes.
And why wasn't it activated during the incident?
Normally, like, we never really used them at the feast. I've done it a few times, but also, Captain told us no cameras.
When did he say that?
Right around the time the gentlemen were being arrested, prior to, right around there, people were like, no, everybody just kept saying no cameras. Like, Captain said no cameras. I got a no camera sign, so I didn't turn mine on. I didn't turn it on.
Okay. Do you know why he said that? Is there a reason, or?
No, I didn't question it. Anytime
Okay.
somebody higher up says no camera, I turn it off.
Okay.
Or don't activate.
After interrogating the officers, the detectives realized one thing. They were dealing with a completely corrupt group of cops who weren't going to tell the truth. Shortly after, the detectives proceeded to investigate Officer Michael Cozart, who had made the arrest.
I was at the Feast of Assumption. On that day, I did not know their names. I could only identify them by the one who was wearing the mask and the one who wasn't. wasn't.
Right.
I didn't, and I really still don't know which one is which.
Okay, right. That's fine. So how did you first become aware of them or have contact with them?
On that day that we're talking about, I heard an officer ask for a supervisor to respond, okay? And because of my role in this, I went in the direction where they said they were. And that's when I first encountered them, when I responded to this officer's request.
And when you responded, what did you observe in terms of any behavior or actions on behalf of the complainants, the Workman brothers?
When I first approached, what I saw was them arguing, okay, and it appeared to be the beginning of a skirmish, if you will, because it was obvious that the officers were trying to get them to do something, and they were obviously resisting or not complying to whatever they were talking about, because they was yelling, screaming.
Did you at any point in time advise any other officer that the Workman brothers were not allowed to play their guitars at the feast or in that area?
That I don't know, but I do know, and I say it that way on purpose, because I do know that each one of the vendors there paid for the space.
So I'm just going to stop it right there and just ask you a question.
Go ahead.
You were walking with Captain DeZuba.
Yes.
Do you recall the officers who were kind of, for lack of a better term, trailing those two young men as you saw them walk up? The officers were following.
Right.
Do you recall those officers informing Captain DeZuba anything regarding them at that point?
See, looking at this helps me a lot, okay? Because when I approached, I thought I was seeing the encounter, okay? But obviously, it hadn't occurred at that moment, okay?
Just like the other cops, Officer Cozart also tried to lie his way out. However, he had no idea that the detectives had access to CCTV footage and body cam recording. When they showed him the evidence, his demeanor suddenly changed.
I've just completed my 26th year, so fortunately or unfortunately, I think I know what I'm doing, you know what I mean? So I wasn't really focused on what they were saying or what they were really doing until I saw what I described to you as being somewhat of a skirmish.
Did you know what caused that somewhat of a skirmish?
No.
Do you recall if any officer will strike that? Did you recall if Captain DeZuba was saying they're under arrest now for whatever reason?
See, I just don't know. Because now keep in mind, there's music playing in the, from other locations. There's people walking around, and now all of a sudden I'm looking at a situation that's developing and beginning to appear to be out of control.
Just so I'm clear, when you were doing that, you were assisting these officers based on what you observed.
Based on what I observed.
Not on anything that you were told in terms of they're under arrest for a certain crime or anything.
Not at all. And again, I didn't care. I saw that they were getting handcuffed, right? And my position is to assist the officers to make it as safe for everyone there as possible.
Okay, and again, you never informed any officer on the scene that prior to that encounter with Captain DeZuba that we call, for sake of clarity, let's refer to that as the second encounter. Would that be
Understood,
fair?
yeah.
So at the first encounter, when the officers approach them and per the officers, they inform them they can't play the guitar. Did you inform those officers or any officers that they were not allowed to play their guitar?
No, but I'm sure somewhere along the line, okay, what happens is I'll get a lot of, "Hey Mike," over the radio. "Hey Mike, can the ice truck come up the hill?" "Nope, because the road is closed." "Hey Mike, can the garbage truck do this?"
Once again, the officer was trying to dodge the question. It was evident that he had been perfectly coached before this interrogation, as he just seemed to remember nothing about the incident.
I've heard, okay, because I didn't remember, because I didn't care. I heard that it was Officer Turner and Love.
And that would be accurate.
Yeah.
So both Officer Turner and Love, having been interviewed by the Office of Professional Standards and at least and by the Internal Affairs, say that they did transport them to jail.
Okay.
If you can recall, after that transportation, did you receive a call from either of those officers?
No.
Did you advise either of those officers why they were either at the county jail or en route to the 3rd District to did you advise them about how they should handle the property
No.
that was placed in their
No.
control?
No.
And to be clear, would you remember if you ordered them or instructed them not to tag, mark, or enter the property?
I can't order or instruct anyone to do anything. That's not my.
So if you can recall, would you have done that?
No.
If they called you, would you have told
No,
them not to do that?
I would have said, you need to talk to a supervisor, is what I would have said.
Okay, and you don't recall saying that they strike that. You don't recall receiving a call from Love while he was at the county jail or en route to
No, I just don't remember it, no.
and you don't
I
recall.
mean, again, if he said he called me, he called me.
But he also said that you told him not to mark, tag, and enter the
No,
property
I
in the
wouldn't
district.
have done that. I
So
wouldn't.
that wouldn't be accurate.
No, I wouldn't have done that.
Officer Cozart kept lying throughout the interrogation, and still, the detectives had no clue about the lost mobile phone. Ultimately, on March 4th, 2020, Captain Zuba was called in for an interrogation.
How these two brothers, the Workman brothers, first came to your attention and what actions you took as it relates to these two complaints, Joseph and Jonathan Workman.
I believe I answered that in the previous interview.
Okay, so you stated then that you were coming to the scene and you encountered these gentlemen, and the officers who were in the area of these two individuals informed you that they had been placed under arrest. Is that still your
Yes,
statement
sir.
today?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall which officer or officers informed you that they had been under arrest at that point?
Bush.
Bush did that. Officer Bush was interviewed by Sergeant Sheehan by the City of Cleveland Division of Police Internal Affairs Division, and during that interview, he stated that that he had not placed them under arrest nor cited them and had no intentions of doing so, and it was his understanding that you ordered him to do so. Would that statement by Officer Bush be accurate?
No.
Okay, so his saying that to Officer Sheehan in his recorded interview, would he be mistaken in that or lying about that?
I would imagine he's just mistaken.
From the beginning of the interview, Captain Zuba's body language was shocking as he felt too entitled to be questioned for his action. However, the detective soon showed him the CCTV footage of the arrest, which made him speechless.
What's captured here, and correct me, I mean you weren't there, but these are officers and the complaints are right here in this, like, kind of on the sidewalk on the doorway. And per the officer's statements to Internal Affairs, they were instructing these individuals that they were not allowed to play their guitars there. If you know, is it unlawful for individuals to play their guitars in a public area like that?
In the feast is permitted. The church regulated all entertainment.
And so a violation of this church's rule, would that be a criminal offense?
As far as I understand, yes.
Because within the city of Cleveland, isn't it lawful to do the act they were doing? If had it not been for the church prohibition against that, would their actions be lawful?
As long as they weren't obstructing.
The captain immediately realized that the detectives knew the truth. Despite being proven wrong, he remained entitled, acting as if he had done nothing illegal and was unjustly forced to be there.
The way I understand it, the church regulates all the entertainment connected with the feast because it's nationalistic. It's like Italian music. The singers, the walking around a cappella groups, the parades, all that's regulated by the church. And it's all donated or they get paid to be there. So to my understanding, they just asked those guys to leave. Just go outside the footprint and play.
Who asked them to leave?
As far as I recollect, the officers.
Right, yes, the officers did ask them to leave.
And
And
then
they
they
stated that they had a right to do that.
Correct.
Which, under city law, they do. Now, is it your opinion that this church can somehow supersede 675A01 and A02, which authorize and specifically allows for the behavior that they were doing simply because they have a permit that allows them to block the streets and encumber the sidewalks. So that would make this action an ordinarily lawful action, now unlawful and being subject to being charged or cited for this behavior by the City of Cleveland Police. And this seems like this is a private entity asking a governmental entity, this being the police department, to enforce their private rules. Would that be your interpretation?
Would it only takes a disturbance?
That is not accurate under the codified Cleveland audience. It just restricts certain hours. It has nothing about disturbing. You are correct in terms of blocking it, but
I don't know what the
sure.
That's a schedule of events that the church puts on. You know, and they regulate the entertainment. They've been doing this festival for 100 years.
Right.
So if you have a festival anywhere and then you get a bunch of guys that are going to just set up a shop and start playing a band and disturbing everybody without the authorization to be there.
That doesn't convert it to a criminal act on behalf of those people.
Okay.
Because this private entity may not like them there. They can call the police and see about having them deemed a trespasser, but ordinarily protected, Constitution protected speech that has also been examined by the city legislature to determine that this specific act is permissible and permitted under this code.
The captain had such poor understanding of the law as he believed that policies and permits could supersede the Constitution. The detectives quickly put him back into his place, but the fun was only getting started.
So he's riding his bike away and officers are still here. So at this point, Captain DeSuba, would you feel that these officers had placed him under arrest at that point, or conclude they would be arrested?
I don't know.
But on your interpretation of what you see here, them riding away their bikes and the officers not pursuing him in any way, or even really looking in their direction as they're leaving out, I think that's highly unlikely that they're under arrest when they're still here and they're leaving at this point.
Are they approaching the captain, or is the captain approaching them, though?
They're approaching each other. They're heading in the same direction.
All right.
I don't know how you could.
Well, that's what I mean. Do we know?
And then they're going to be taken. One is going to be taken that way by an officer, as you can see. They'll take his bike, and Jonathan Workman is going to be placed against the wall there, and they will be handcuffed. It's highly unlikely that the officers would let them pedal off on their bikes and create that sort of separation without even really looking in their direction. But more importantly, these same officers have already given statements that these individuals were not under arrest at that point. That Officer Bush, who Captain DeZuba said informed him that they were under arrest, stated something just to the contrary, that he had, not only were they not under arrest or had been cited, he had no intentions on doing so because they left. That was his statement.
The detectives proved the fact that the guitarists were not arrested prior, and the captain was the aggressor who arrived and escalated the situation. At this point, Zuba was almost out of word, and it was his yes man who was trying to talk with the officers.
We booked him and arrested him?
Yes, Patrol Officer Bush says he arrested him under the order of Captain DeZuba. He didn't know why. And the other officer said, I don't know what act of disorderly conduct they committed. It had to have happened after the initial encounter at where they were playing the guitars. They said it had to happen. The disorderly conduct had to be something that happened when they encountered.
Well, that's why I was asking.
And that's what these 6-7 officers all say that same thing.
They go to him or Captain DeZuba. Obviously, somebody tells him that's why he's coming there.
Well,
or no.
Captain DeZuba here today said Officer Bush told him that, and Officer Bush.
I know, but could we?
Can
we go back and ask the questions again? He just made a comment that Officer Bush said to arrest him, but you didn't go over anything as far as where was he when he finds out. What did he find out was wrong? He's telling you that Officer Bush said they were under arrest.
And the officers who were involved in that initial encounter all state that they were free to go, that they weren't placed under arrest, nor were they going to be cited. And that subsequent to that, Captain DeZuba ordered them to arrest them and cite them.
No, that is not true. I didn't order anybody to arrest anybody.
Right, that was my question. So those officers who said that,
Those are the
they had to be mistaken or lying, because that's what they consistently all say.
Suddenly, Captain DeZuba and his partner were short on word, as his own juniors had exposed them. The detectives keep playing the footage, which continues to weaken the captain's claim.
That is not consistent with, because that's you just now coming. And when you first get to them, the only officer that's even in
There's two
close
officers to
proximity-
my left.
Right, but those officers were never
Yeah,
up
but
there.
I don't know this.
But they're walking with you towards them.
I'm not
There's no way
watching.
those officers
I am not
could
watching.
have
I'm
been-
watching two people coming toward me.
Right, but are you saying that one of those two officers who are walking with you in that direction towards them are the one who never encountered them
I'm
up
not
there?
saying anything. I'm just saying there were a lot of people around.
Right.
And I'm watching two people coming toward me. All I know is some officers called for a supervisor. That's all I know.
Right. And then
when everybody catches up, I'm like, what's going on? These guys asked to be arrested.
Wait a minute. You're saying that when they came up, the police said these guys asked to be arrested?
Yeah. I go, are they under arrest? They go, yeah. And I'm like, why aren't they cuffed?
But they didn't tell you what they would be arrested for, just per the complaint's request.
It was very short. It was very short. These guys are known agitators. We didn't know this at the time, but this is what they do. They have a website. Have you seen it?
Right, but
the Chardon Times. They do this all over, everywhere.
Do what?
They bait policemen. They sit there and then they motherfuck them and they say, I have a right to be here, blah, blah, blah. So as I understand this, once we got down to the van, once these guys were cuffed and we had their property and we walked down to the prisoner van, that's when they said, we're going to sue you, you have no right, U.S. code, blah, 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 and they're throwing all this legal stuff, which in my interpretation is why Bush called for a boss in the first place.
No.
Because once they start throwing out U.S. codes, your average officer doesn't understand that.
The captain grew agitated as more evidence was being thrown against him. At this point, the entire room knew that this pig was guilty, but the interrogation moved forward.
Right.
If he wasn't arresting him, why did he call for a boss?
He said he called for a boss because the complainants requested a boss because they felt they were in their rights and they were hoping that a boss would clarify it because they felt that these officers did not know the law that permits them to do the conduct they're doing. So that's why they called for a supervisor. And Bush, that's his statement, that he called per their request, not for because he had an issue or because he felt it was over once they finally left the scene, as you saw. Did you, 4 o'clock? At any time, did you order any officers who were working this detail to not activate their WCS?
No.
You never ordered anyone to do that?
No. Tony Tomorrow had his on.
Right. He's the only one did, and he said the reason why he had his on, he wasn't assigned to that detail. He works, I guess, community policing that's already working in the Little Italy area. Is that correct? And so he's the only one who had his on. That's the only reason we got this.
Soon, the detectives proceeded to ask the captain about the body cam issue. Turning your body cam off during an arrest should be considered a crime, and this corrupt captain was the reason why this happened. However, when questioned about it, he just conveniently refuted it.
No, there
Except
were.
for the only other officers who had theirs on were the officers who transported them, who was Officer Turner and Love. And in their IA interviews, Patrol Officer Bush, Patrol Officer Anderson, Dominique Anderson, badge number 1753. Patrol Officer Scott Carey, badge number 2400. Patrol Officer Richard DeVelchio Jr., badge number 1278. Patrol Officer Musina, Patrol Officer Wright, Patrol Officer Cody Dorner, badge number 269. They all stated in their IA interviews that you ordered them not to activate their WCS camera. In fact, Officer...
It's a direct statement that they're saying the captain orders them not
every
to
last
turn it on?
one make that direct.
Not that somebody had said we're not turning our cameras
Every
on
last
during this
one.
event? So the captain would have had to go to each one of them and directly say, do not turn your camera on.
Some of them said it was said when they were getting off the bus, because I guess they rode a bus to this detail,
And
then
and who the captain
And then-
met them at the bus?
and I think it's Del Vecchio who says during the actual arrest.
At this point, the captain is done and dusted. The interviewer had done a fantastic job of owning this corrupt pig, and now he is cornered from all sides.
Including Officer Bush. Every officer said they were ordered by Captain DeZuba to to not activate their WCS. Each and every one of them. And none of them had their WCS on.
Well, can he
And
speak
I
to
asked
that?
him, yeah, he'd already answered it. He said he didn't issue that order.
Did you ever meet anybody getting off the bus? I mean, were
And
you
some-
present when they
No.
get off a bus?
And some said during this arrest, they were told, don't go on.
Okay. Did you ever tell
No.
them during the arrest, don't
So
turn
those
your
officers,
camera on?
again, those officers who made those statements during their IA interviews, they're mistaken or lying about you issuing that order?
I can't tell you why they said what they said. Well, I was standing next to, I believe, Kozar and Tomorrow. Tomorrow had his video on.
Right, he's the only one.
If I had said anything during the arrest, it would be on Tony's video.
Well-
If I said, don't turn your videos on, Tony would have shut his off.
The captain kept saying no to every accusation, and the interview ended abruptly. With all the evidence in hand, it was clear that Captain Zuiba had made an illegal arrest and confiscated the mobile phone, which held the only evidence of him using force against the guitarists. However, not much happened to these corrupt officials, but the brothers ended up filing a lawsuit against them and the city. Eventually, the city settled with them for $66,000. It's peanuts once you realize that Zuiba's salary is more than $200,000 annually. The brothers also felt that the captain should have been held accountable. But justice in America seems far-fetched. I believe Captain Zuiba and some other officers who lied during the interviews should have been punished and criminally charged. If you agree with me, please consider showing your support by liking this video and make sure to subscribe to stay informed about future cases like these. Also, if you enjoyed this video, check out the next video here.